Hi, I'm Sam, and this is the story of the first and only session of my first campaign in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So in high school, I started creating my own fantasy setting for D&D, and I spent a lot of my time making maps, coming up with towns, cities, histories for the 3 kingdoms of Chaldeus. I was super excited to get a game going in my setting, and I would always be bringing it up to my friends, asking when they would be able to start a campaign. I had planned out a way for them to start off, and I was ready. Or so I thought. My plan was to start them off in a town in the middle of the forest called Wellwood. They would be traveling through town on a caravan, and I was going to have them hear a rumor of a man whose son went missing during a hunting trip. Now, obviously, they would follow up with the man and figure out more information about the son and seek him out, try to save him, find the boy. When they followed those leads, they would find a camp of goblinoids and either sneak in and rescue the boy or go in weapons out and have a fight. Any experienced DM will recognize a few issues with my expectations of what my party was going to do. No plan survives contact with the players. It's just true. No plan survives contact with the players. This was very much the case in my first foray into helming the role of Dungeon Master, so much so that my players never even heard about the missing boy. Oh no, they had other ideas. I'll be using these visual aids to represent characters with little to no accuracy and help tell the story. So, the party of adventurers consisted of a half-orc fighter, a human rogue, a halfling monk, and an elf ranger. I don't remember any of their names, as this did happen a long time ago, and we never really got to know the characters very well because we only played this one game. These are going to be the minis that will represent our party. The party rolled into town around dusk. Straight away, they started looking for a tavern. When they arrived at the tavern, the rogue decided to stay outside. He was the loner of the group and didn't really want to interact with anybody. As they walked in, they asked who was there. So I told them there was a handful of people, some from the lumber mill, some citizens of the town, and there was one man alone at a table. One of the party members decided to watch the bard in the tavern as the other two went to get drinks. As the orc and the halfling were at the bar getting drinks, they noticed the lone man was very, very drunk. He was drawing a lot of attention, falling over, leaning onto the table. They asked the barkeep who the person was, and with a pretty easy persuasion roll, they were told that it was the right-hand man to the lord of the town. Then the guy playing the half-orc asked the question that started it all. Does he look like he has money? The answer to which was that he looked fairly wealthy. So the orc and the halfling bought a bottle of something strong and decided to drink with the drunk man. They drank with him until he passed out on the floor, and then I thought they would move on. Maybe, hopefully. They did not. They ended up convincing the barkeep that they would take him home to sleep off the booze and carried him out. At this point I could tell that things were heading in a different direction than I had anticipated. But I thought maybe I could get things back on track once the guards at the manor thanked them for bringing him home and had them go on their way. That, however, didn't happen either. They approached the manor, carrying the drunk man along, and as they got close, the guards saw them, and the man that they were carrying. Another one of those nights, huh? Thanks for bringing him home. We'll take it from here. I thought I had handled the situation. And then the half-orc spoke up again. He rolled a natural 20 to persuade the guards that they could get him to his room. I didn't know what to do. I was just trying to roll with the punches. So the guards let them in, and then they went to his room on the 2nd floor and started looking around for things of value to take. Literally already stealing stuff. Seriously. At this point, for some reason, they hadn't had enough yet. The half-orc decided to go look in other rooms for valuables. And as he left the drunk's room, he turned to see a dwarf with a confused and angry look on his face. The dwarf immediately asked the half-orc what he was doing in his house. Something that I thought was a reasonable question to ask a strange intruder in your house in the middle of the night. Better than outright attacking the players, at least, that's what I thought. I was still trying to give them a way out. I tried so hard. So the orc said that he was just finishing putting the drunk man to bed, and was looking for a glass of water for him. The dwarven lord, obviously not believing this lie as he rolled a low deception, told him to get out of his house immediately. But this is when the half-orc decided that this was a hill that he was willing to die on. So he argued with the lord, saying that he owed him something for bringing the drunk man home. This is when the lord stormed off down the hallway into another room. I'm not sure what the party thought he was going to do when he went into the other room, but they all thought this was a good time to get the hell out of Dodge. The rogue had already climbed out of the window during this conversation, and when they heard him storm off, the monk and the ranger began to do the same. But the half-orc wasn't leaving. In fact, he was waiting by the drunk man's bedside for the lord to return. And as the dwarf came back, Fully armored and carrying an axe, the half-orc did something I'll never understand even to this day. He threw the unconscious drunk man out of the second-story window. Just tossed him out. And I even asked if he was sure, and he said yes. Then he jumped out of the window after him. I told him to make an acrobatics check, which he failed miserably, resulting in him landing on the man's chest, killing him. All in front of the lord of the town, and he didn't stop there. Oh no, he kept going, digging his grave, or I guess the grave for the campaign. Either way, both work. After that, he decided to cut the man's head off and take it with him as he escaped into the woods. Now the party was on the run. They had murdered the right-hand man to the Lord of Wellwood. At this point, they were staying out in the woods, and I had given up. I mean, what else was I supposed to do? The half-orc turned the skull into an ocarina and started playing songs on it. Then I tried to murder them with wolves in the woods. That didn't work out, as I kept rolling natural ones, and so I decided that the wolves kind of just gave up at some point and ran off. One of the party members, I think it was the halfling, tried to sleep in a cave, which I decided was probably a bear cave. He ended up getting away and climbing up a tree. At this point, I was thoroughly pissed off, and I decided to end the session there. Later, I made the decision that we would never be playing that game again, because in my mind, the whole campaign was ruined. And that's it. Kind of an anticlimactic ending. But that's the story of the first and only session of my first campaign. I learned a lot from it, and I now know how to roll with the punches just a tiny bit better. But my players also know not to be murder hobos, in my games, at least. Like, do what you want in your own games, but that's not my style. So let me know some DM horror stories that you've experienced in the comments, and let me know if you enjoyed this video. If there's a next time, I'll see you there.